This is actually the first public speaking class that I've ever had, and I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the lectures in the beginning and then the actual presentations at the end were really enjoyable, and they kind of grabbed my attention. I ended up liking it a lot. I am not 100% comfortable with my public speaking communication skills. I feel like I actually need to work on them, and I feel like I actually did improve this month a lot. I actually do have performance experience. I've been playing with bands since I was about 13 or 14. So getting up in front of an audience with a guitar is actually no problem for me, but when it comes to just having to go up and actually talk to an entire crowd of people without anything or a band behind me, I find that a little bit more difficult. During the introduction speech, I actually feel like my volume and gestures were at an appropriate level, strictly because I was talking about myself and I wasn't too worried about trying to convince somebody about something or anything else. I just felt comfortable talking about myself. My persuasive speech, on the other hand, my volume and gestures, I feel like they lacked a lot, and that would be because I wasn't confident enough in what I had, and it was the time slides kind of threw me off a bit. But I I definitely needed to work on those, and I feel like I did, and I overcame that with the next one. My overall performance on the professional speech, I actually feel like was one of my best, and it was because it was later in the month. I started getting more comfortable around everyone. Started learning a bit more and how to present myself when I go up to give a speech. I also knew a lot about what I was talking about, so that helped a lot. Um, I feel like that was actually my best one so far. Anytime I actually have to present, it doesn't really matter if it's 100 people or 10 people. I will always kind of act the same. Sometimes jittery, sometimes not, but switching from auditorium to classroom really just it doesn't bother me. Changes of scenery does in a whole doesn't really bother me. It's just actually talking to more than a couple people about one thing that sometimes throws me off. When we were put into groups for our persuasive speech, I feel like our group did very well. We all kind of bounced ideas off of each other and brainstormed, and because of that, we were all able to get really good ideas. And I think everyone in my group actually ended up doing pretty well. To be honest, yeah, I'm always nervous whenever I go up in front of a big group of people, and I feel like everyone is. Some people just don't show it as much as others. But it's it's not so much of being nervous, it's just being comfortable with what you're doing and what you have to say. And once I kind of got comfortable with everything I was doing, I felt a lot better. My visual concepts, I really just wanted to focus on only pictures uh, that were kind of going along with what I was saying, strictly because I feel anything else would have taken attention from what I was saying. And in any speech, you always want the audience to be looking at you and listening to you. I think overall the audience responded well to my presentation. However, the fact that you're in a classroom setting, I mean, there's always going to be the people paying a really hard attention. Then there's always going to be the people who really are just on their MacBooks and doing stuff. But the people I feel like that were listening were actually very involved in what I was talking about. As I stated previously, my audio and visual for my presentations was more of just to be kind of background noise. I wanted everyone to listen to me, so I did have pictures that would intrigue people and it would reflect as to what I was talking about. So that's how I used my visual concepts. I don't know if I would say satisfied was the word that I would use to describe the time I spent researching everything. But I did spend a lot of time researching, and I felt like after every presentation I gave, I had a very good grasp on the knowledge that I was presenting. For my introductory speech, I didn't really practice. I kind of jotted down things that I wanted to cover, just a note here and there, and because I felt like since it was a speech about myself, I shouldn't have to write down something. I feel like I should be able to go up and talk about myself, and that's what I did. The only speech that I really spent a lot of time practicing for was the persuasive speech, and that was because I wasn't really informing somebody like I was when I was informing them about the industry professional or myself. I was actually trying to prove a point. So because of that, I actually ended up practicing it quite a bit. I did have one technology error, and I didn't actually realize I had an error because it was the time slides for the persuasive. My favorite speech by far was the introductory speech, and I will say that because I didn't really have to research myself. I didn't have to do a slideshow, and it was just a lot more fun. Um, it wasn't so much uh, strenuous work that I had to figure out stuff. I could just kind of go up there and talk about myself, and I really enjoyed that. The speech I probably found most challenging was the professional speech. My biggest delivery challenge, I would say, would be I get shaky sometimes, and it's not so much that I'm nervous. It's more so that I have really bad ADHD. So when I'm sitting in front of a bunch of people, it tends to be brought out a little bit more. I kind of like sway back and forth or jitter my hand a little bit. Um, I think that is definitely what I need to work on the most. But it's definitely gotten better with time. For me, the biggest challenge is always citing. One thing that I think I really kind of learned from everyone else's speech is that uh, if you take yourself too seriously up there, then people won't stay interested. I was able to manage my time constraints by the amount of topics that I had to talk about. For each one, I would have 3 points and three topics for each point, and I would try to move through those as fast as I could. I did run over on most of my speeches, but not by much. I found this to be a very effective way. That's why I did that. This month, I would probably rate my performance at a 3.5. I feel more so just because I really improved as the month went on. I could feel myself improving, um, but I still know that there's a lot of stuff that I have to work out. After this month, I've really learned that public speaking is something that I'm always going to have to do. No matter what I do, whether I'm playing in a band or presenting something for a company, it's something that I have to work on and I have to be okay with doing because in our industry especially, I'm always going to be going in front of a large group of people and presenting something. So I think that this class was actually a great and massive help.